If you're someone out there who's lost hope, purpose and worth in this vast world, if you're someone who's currently on the edge because options no longer seem to be in your hands anymore, if you're someone who's alone right now, this video is for you. However, if the description I just gave there doesn't apply to you, please do watch this video and hopefully you may be able to contribute something of constructive worth throughout. And at the end as a general summary, or even pass this video on to someone who you know is feeling like this, and hopefully it will give them something to think about. In the past 3 years I've been on this website, I've had many emails of people asking me for advice on various things. And for those of you out there who are watching this and are going through a tough time, I just want you to know that I know how it feels. That doesn't mean I completely understand your situation, because every situation is completely independent and separate, but I have recently been on the edge. Does that mean I'm only making a video of this because of what I've been through? Well, yes and no. No in the sense that I always try and make videos that sort of get people to come together and open up, because I believe that we live in a society now that's so socially open. We should be supportive of our fellow man and not put the labels of emo on people who wish to express themselves, and actually give support to those that need the support they deserve. But yes, also in the other sense that I have been through some tough things lately, and consequently it's been somewhat of a revelation that the being on the edge aspect has been so real, and therefore it's a much more real experience for me to talk about. But by no means am I here to patronise any of you, even if I do sound patronising in any of my videos. It's never my intention. I just try and be clear, and hopefully, even if it gets through to just one person and improves them, then it's worth it. So let's first of all put things into perspective, okay? So you're feeling low. I don't know how low you're feeling. I don't know what's happened. But what I can tell you is that there is someone out there in the world who is a lot worse off than you. And why do you think I'm telling you that? Is it to guilt trip you? Does it mean that your pain is insignificant? Well, no. Pain is pain. Pain is subjective. And therefore, if you're feeling pain, it's important that you deal with it, because who knows who you could be helping with your experiences once you've got through what you have managed to. But let's not get too negative. On the other end of the spectrum are people who are better than you. So why bother mentioning the obvious? Because it should be an indication that you are in the middle of two ends. You can either get worse or you can get better. And I'm sure we can all agree that you would rather be better. So before I throw any more thoughts your way, I guess I better introduce my story. And it happened just before Christmas. I'm not going into details, but I'm sure it's something everyone can relate to. I searched the universe for someone who understands me, and someone who I thought could be involved in companionship to an extent where I would no longer feel alone, and I could just share a life with, I guess, share all my passions and my enthusiasms in life, and have someone there that I could care for. But unfortunately it didn't go to plan, and consequently I was torn apart. Now, I'm not going into all the technicalities and what was going on, and I don't wish for you to discuss that either, because that's something that's not to be discussed. But the issue that shall be discussed is what happened to me as a result. I went into counselling. If you ever get a chance to get therapy, take it. We live in a society these days where physical health is a lot better, and consequently mental health is the new challenge, you know, psychology. And I think a lot of people tend to feel intimidated or, you know, by counselling because they don't want to be labelled as a loony or an outcast because they're doing it. And it's completely not the case. A lot more people do it than one may expect, and it's very helpful. But when you get counselling, it's important that it's done in a constructive sense, and that's where your therapist isn't telling you what to do, but merely discussing things with you and allowing you to come up with your own conclusions. I was struggling with who I was as a person. I had these concepts of what life was for me, what I wanted out of life, and what I thought a relationship was supposed to be, and how all these ideas had been shaken up completely. The fact that I'd gone through so much pain and nothing had come out of it positive, I felt like I was a waste of space. I felt like I was a wasted sacrifice. So I went through my counselling, and I completed it. there was a lot of things that went on, which I'm not going to explain, but there was a few dilemmas that I was still dealing with. And at the end of the day, you've got to deal with it by yourself. And after about 3 months of not holding it in, but just being able to forgive and stay calm and try and deal with it as good as I could, I cracked. And this part of the video, I'm going to show you some footage. And if I showed this video in the past, when I was going through the pain, it would just worry people more. And that would have been unconstructive. So now I'm actually out of it and you know that I'm better. This can be seen as a symbol of what I have come out of, because I just self-destructed one day. I was kicking my car in, I was just arguing with my family, I'd already annoyed friends, I just pushed everyone aside. I felt like a burden to everyone. I was a burden to my friends and my family. I was a burden to life. I was going to self-destruct. Consequently, I locked myself in that bathroom, and in a rage, I just trashed the place. And this footage I'm going to show you now is just proof of that, but I think it's more importantly going to show you how maybe some of you would look at me and say I'm a confident person, I'm usually happy, and it would shock you to see what I had become. And some of you may be saying that's attention seeking. Well, if it was, I would have uploaded it straight away when I was in the situation, but I didn't. I held on to it as a reminder and why I needed to sort myself out. But if you don't like blood, look away now. I came out of my rage, basically. I looked at my hands and they were covered in blood. It was from broken glass that I'd smashed in the room. And I wasn't proud of what I'd done. The month around that was the hardest of my life. And there was a point where I had been cutting myself. And I'm not proud of that either. And it's something that I'd always preach to people not to do. And I'd done it. And I guess what I'm trying to say is there are always times that are going to throw us on edge. And it doesn't matter how strong you are. There's always going to be things that put you to the edge of life. And therefore you shouldn't be scared or feel alone if you ever go through stuff like this. And there's always people out there that understand. And it should never be seen as patronising, because we all need help in life. If I've been through that, then how many other people have been through that? I mean, something I said in my film script once is the fact that, let's take school for instance. You could be in the main common room or the get-together place, whatever you call it. But you look around. For me, people were playing pool. Everyone's, you know, happy and that. But you don't know who in the room the night before was maybe crying to their friend on the phone, wanting to take their life. You don't know who was doing that. You don't know the true stories behind anyone, because in society we have pride and we don't like to put on the truth, because we're afraid that people will take advantage. And that is a true fact. Unfortunately, it does happen. But what you do need to realise is there are so many people out there who are willing to help. And I am one of them. And I just want to say that, you know, for me, I alone cannot save the world. But together, the world can save it. I hope that made sense. Individually, you know, we can't cure it all. But if we all chip in, even if we spend 5 minutes of our time for a friend who needs that chat, it can make a lot of difference. I've lost a friend. She came into my live show once, and this was about a year ago. She was losing her house, she'd lost her partner, and she'd lost her job. And I spent about 2 hours chatting with her, and the next day she said things had improved and it was good. I didn't hear from her for a while, and then a few weeks later I found out that she'd taken her life, and it was saddening, it was sickening. And there was guilt on my part, and although I know I'm not responsible, it's a thought that's left behind. And I just want to finish on the word about suicide, because as much as it's a sensitive issue, I know that I've been at points where I've felt the need just to let go. There's no other options. And if there's anyone out there who's ever feeling that, there's a quote of mine I use on a journal, and this is something that I think is true and something I've always said, and it's, if you ever take your life the only thing that you will leave behind is the question in the minds of everyone else, which is, what else could I have done? And whether you want that tonight, because I've had people before tell me, you know, Myles, forgive me. And it can't be done like that. And there was a quote I read online, which was, if you ever commit suicide, you always kill yourself too late. There's always options, there's always people out there for you. You're never alone. And once again, I'm not saying I can help everyone out there, but hopefully if you read the comments, there's other people out there who are giving support. And if you ever do open up to people and they do, you know, throw hate your way, just realise they're idiots and they're just people that are very sick-minded. And also, by choosing not to take your life, you're extending your life, obviously, but by that I mean you're extending the opportunities you have to help other people, because I'm out of it, and at the time I could never see myself coming out of it. I was crying so much and I just wanted to end it because I just felt so worthless. Like I didn't have anyone. I locked myself away for about a month. I didn't go out my front door, I didn't speak to my family, I didn't speak to friends. I just painted and I wrote, and it helped. And sometimes alone time does work, and you actually learn who your true friends are when you go through stuff like this. And I could talk about this forever, but hopefully we can continue this chat and discussion. So whenever your mind is in darkness and it's in that very, very painful zone, please just remember that you are not alone. And do remember that, because there are always people out there who will care for you, whether stranger, friend or family. Adios till next time.